application programming interface. That is what API stands for. And it helps businesses to connect and operate, right? Now, if we were talking about safe calls to these APIs, the programmers, whatever we build or whatever we develop or the code we write, basically communicates with a different business, whether you like it or not, right? If you are building a mobile app, maybe for chat or for payments or whatever it is, you are connecting to a particular endpoint somewhere, and that can be called an API. So in simply terms, just look at it as that interconnecting point that connects two businesses together, right? So there are some, for example, let's look at Uber, for example, right? They have this map feature in their app. Now that map feature is connecting to a particular API or a particular business that supply map service. So for example, Google, right? So now Uber and Google, they're able to work together to provide you the Uber service because Uber connected to Google's API. Right. So that's just that for those that do not understand what API integration is about. Now, what are we looking at today? So we have 7 points, or should I say 6, and then we have QA at the end of it. So we're looking at why API security matters. So why should we secure these APIs? We look at API breaches in the past. So these APIs that have been developed in the past by previous implementations, or should I say features, what are some of the issues that they have encountered and what has it cost them? We're going to look at all of that today and how not to be the bad developer. We'll also look at how to build APIs the right way. And we'll also talk about how to stay ahead of threats with alerts. And then we'll look at how to integrate these alerts directly from our code, where we're going to get all updates directly from our code where we do not fall short of any information. Now, why API security matters? So insecure APIs cause millions in losses due to breaches and downtime. So poor API security leads to data leaks, compliance failures, cybersecurity threats as well. And real-time monitoring can prevent incidents from before they become disastrous, right? Because so if you look at these 3 points, there is one thing in common. It's about losses. Because when there is a breach, data breach, for example, a company has its API exposed where attackers got data from. Now that means that that company can be fined, which is compliance failure. And at the end of the day, they're going to lose money. Right. So let's look at some of the breaches that's happened in the past. So Dell, for example, I'm sure most of you here know Dell, the manufacturers. So how big Dell is, they still got attacked. So this tells you that it's not about how secure your system is or the amount of money you've invested in it. It just needs to keep staying ahead of the game every single day, no matter how big you are, because the attackers are always there looking for loopholes in your system or your API. So Dell's API weakness allowed massive data scraping, exposing 49 million users. Now, these users' record got exploited through the broken access control. That is the API 2 2025. So API 2 here stands for the second option. That's the second number 2, okay, of the OWASP top 10. Now that is the web application security framework. That is a standard, okay, that every security engineer follows to test the web application. And the number 2 on the list, that's the top 10. Number 2 is broken access control. That's to show that this particular exploit or this particular attack is common. So if 49 million users records got stolen, now imagine you're one of them. Now, what kind of records are we talking about? Maybe phone numbers, your emails, your could be your pictures. Now, how is this going to cause a loss? An attacker somewhere can buy this information from whoever stole it and use it to phish you. Because now they have your information. They can act as you, they can impersonate you, one. They can also send you a personalized email because of this information they have. You believe it because it's true. So that's how dangerous this is. And why does it matter? The details and scale of this breach demonstrated how the combination of poor process and poorly security APIs can result in significant compromise. So we also have a company called Twilio. Some of you might not know them, but the applications you use them. How? Through the API. All right. So Twilio's API vulnerability exposed 33.4 million linked phone numbers, enabling phishing and SIM swapping attacks due to, again, broken access control and weak authentication. So imagine you getting an SMS saying that you've won money or any kind of what's it called, SMS that interests you. It could be that you won a particular amount of money or your account is locked. To unlock it, click this link. Now, how did they get your phone number? If you use MTN or any telco you use, they might not be the one that exposed your information. It could be where you placed or where you imputed your phone number, right? And then Twilio processes that phone number from wherever app you used. So attacking Twilio means that all the companies connected to Twilio is affected. That's how deep this is. So why it matters? This breach highlights the danger of insufficient input validation, and authentication in API handling sensitive user data. So we'll see how to ensure some of these things will happen to us because they are very deadly. So this is just a few. Okay, so before we move on to the next phase, we also have Internet Archive. So this is another corporation where there was an API token flaw that exposed 31 million users, allowing hackers to access Zendesk support records. Some of you are familiar with Zendesk, I'm sure. Okay, so Zendesk, how does Zendesk come in here? So Internet Archive is more like a platform that has different states of the internet. So if you want to know what happened, a particular website that was live as at 1971, or should I say 2002, right? Now, that website is probably not live today, but with Internet Archive, we can go back as far as 2002 to go and see the website. Now, Internet Archive connects to Zendesk API, and attackers were able to get information as far back as from 2018 till date. Now that means whatever conversation that has been going on with Zendesk in any company that uses Zendesk, it's not just Zendesk themselves. This information is out there to that attacker for 31 million users. So they can imagine. That's why you get some email talking about visa application. Maybe you just you went to a particular website. Maybe you started visa application on a particular app. All of a sudden, they will start telling you that, oh, you've gotten visa. This person will send you email. That person will send you email. How did they know? Where you posted your information, a particular API that was connected has gotten hold of that data. Now they know your email, they know your phone number, and then they start targeting you. And people fall for it. You might not fall for it, but people fall for it. So the most recent breach was only in a series that impacted the Internet Archive, demonstrating that the failure to secure your API has become a repeating problem and a cost. Okay, so because of all of this, that is why I'm urging you to not be the bad developer. Now, what do I mean by bad developer? Might be a good person, right? But be a bad developer because you do not follow this practice. So businesses use the API to communicate with each other, ranging from making payments. Another is collecting payments. Another business is sending government issued IDs across the API. So using a bad practice as a developer puts everyone at risk. So you can imagine, so we have here 5 businesses. One is dealing with finance, maybe treasury and all of that. They have an API they built for their business. And then here is the bad developer also building for their business to serve other people. We have another business, KYC, that's Know Your Customer API, maybe for verification purpose. We also have Payment API. Okay, let's say Bitnob, right? And we also have another company, Google API. Now, this particular bad developer is in between, or should I say is is linked to other APIs. So finance API, for example, needs a particular service that this particular user has. They have to connect. And now this particular developer needs service that KYC API has. It has to connect. So in a case where this user does not implement accurate authentication systems, does not implement validations, it means attackers can connect their pipeline to this API. So whatever information comes through, that attacker can get it. So even though finance API is secured, they can still be exploited from this particular API. That's how dangerous it is. That's why we need a community of developers that is doing or following the best practice, right? Now, how do we then follow these best practice, or what are some of these best practice? So the first one here, very important, is authentication and authorization. So there's a particular tool, open source tool, that is open authorization, OAuth, that you can use. If you can't build your authentication system from scratch, you can use that to authenticate your APIs. We also have API keys that can be used, and we have JWTs, that is JSON Web Tokens, that can be used to authenticate your API so that nobody just connect and use it. We have to provide a key before they use it. That's that. And we also have rate limiting and throttling. Now, somebody is connecting to your API does not mean they can keep coming. There should be a limit. And when I say limit, it will be, okay, you can make a request to this API 100 requests per second. Not that you try to make 1 million requests in 1 second, and probably cause DDoS attack or prevent it from usage. There are attackers like that. They know that if they know your endpoint that basically sends money from Nigeria to Ghana, they know that endpoint. And they know that a lot of people are using it. They can create a botnet that can send 1 million requests to that endpoint. Now, the actual user that needs that service would not be able to send it. That's why you see things like bad gateway. You see things like unreachable, unavailable, because somebody is busy clogging it. So, but you, the developer, when you put a rate limit, then this should be avoided. So very important. We also have encryption. So use HTTPS to encrypt sensitive data. Now, this means whatever data is being sent via the API is being encrypted in such a way that when the attacker even gets hold of the data, they cannot understand it. All right. So me writing me a love letter in a language that, let's say in a language that nobody understands, or you with sign languages, and send it to someone, it means I can give it to any other person. They can have hold of it, but they will not understand because it's meant for the receiving party. And when the receiving party gets it, they would understand what I'm saying. That's the concept of encryption. Then lastly, we have input validation. So sanitize and validate all inputs. Don't just receive any character. So if somebody is putting first name, that first name, somebody can come and type D, 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 just D, letter D as their first name. And some applications today will accept it. You can go and try it after the call. Now, fine, the application could be validating string that, yes, that is a string, but then that is not a valid name. So you should do checks as much as this. That's why there was a time Facebook. Now, Facebook, if you go and type some words, they will tell you that is not human, that is an object, and they want only human. That's how that's the level of validation they have gotten to. Because of course they get attacked every time, every day. So moving on, we also have logging and monitoring. Detect anomalies before they cause harm. So you should always know whenever anything is happening. API versioning, ensure backward compatibility and smooth transitions. So of course, when you build an API in future, after like maybe 1 week, 1 month, 2 months, you want to add a new feature, you want to change the entire structure of what your API does, you don't have to just change it, because when you do that, you are disrupting the business that is connected to that API. So the best thing you can do is version it. So that's why you see some APIs, those of you that are intermediate or experts, you realize that we have this V1, V2, V3, Okay. And then when the businesses want to connect, you tell them that, oh, there's a new version, they should do slash V3, then they will see the new ones. But the old one is still working. So it doesn't break the flow. Integration and end-to-end testing. So whatever function you write as a developer, ensure it is tested. Integration testing, end-to-end testing, even as much as unit testing. Now, when I say testing, I'm talking about um for those of you that do not understand, right? It's not about the user just holding the phone and trying to test whether okay it is working. No. So at the developers level, they need to check to ensure that the code is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So if this code is supposed to upload a profile picture, you should ensure that it only accepts profile picture. Not that when I upload a PHP file or when I upload a script, it will accept because that is also a file. Right? So you write this code and test that it actually does what it should do to avoid attacks because trust me, the hackers now they are sophisticated as we are all going into the AI now. The attackers are also going into AI for information. So whatever AI can do and make it so nice and wow, that's how attacking can now be so easy and wow as well. Managing API keys. So regularly rotate API keys. And that means just like changing the doors of your house, or should I say, yeah, changing it because that key has been shared and you don't know who has gone to duplicate it. They can come at any time. So regularly rotate. The same thing with APIs. So when you share keys, you 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 use the keys yourself, even though you don't share them. You don't know whose hand it has gotten into. Ensure you change it maybe every month or every 3 months or every week, depending on the level of risk that your business applies or that applies to your business. We also have sharing, yeah, sharing of these keys. That's managing now, sharing it. When you want to share these keys, don't send them through IM, that's instant messaging apps like WhatsApp, emails, Telegram, because it will be there until the person deletes it. It will be there forever, right? Now, use tools like one time secret. That's it, onetimesecret.com. So with this tool, you can post your key, send it to the person, maybe the developer you're working with, and then once they see it, it it crumbles or it's deleted. That is safer, right? We also have code scanning on each push. Now, what does this mean? Avoid outdated packages. Use a tool like Trivi. So there's been recent attacks. But before I talk about that, you can see here it says it will help prevent unintended breaches. In 2024, that was just last year, Endor Labs reported year-on-year 156 increase in malicious packages, JavaScript, Python, Go, whichever programming language. What this means is you can use the best standards when it comes to security, the best engineers, the best tools out there, and still get breached. How? Because one developer somewhere that you are using their package did not fix their bugs or did not secure their product properly. It could also be that they have secured it and they're giving you updates and you did not update because you did not know. That's how dangerous this is. And we have companies losing up to even more than $5 million just because of this particular issue. I've attached a PDF on this slide. For those of you that would need it, you can see a full report on this. That's a very, very important point. And what you have to always do, if you've not done it, please add it. Now, application security testing as well needs to be done. Learn to test unfamiliar APIs effectively using tools like Bob Suite. Now, what is unfamiliar APIs? So let's say your business, your company has come to you to implement a particular feature, a very amazing feature. Everybody loves it, right? You, the developer, you can build it. It's very easy. But then you should learn to test their APIs as well. because whatever you build, if it works or it doesn't work, it ties down to you. And if the API affects your job, it's still up to you. They won't blame them. It's you that will be blamed. So always test. If you don't know how to do it, you can pass over to the security engineer in your team to do that for you. And before we move on from staying, okay, that's that. Now, before we go ahead to see how to do some of these things, we have staying ahead of threats with alerts. There are various alerts. Some of you have heard of tools like Sentry, uh, even Dependables from GitHub and all of that. It's traditional logging and it's not enough, right? We have tools like um, this Cloud Trail from AWS and all of that that helps you to log every information. Now, these kind of logs, they are there when you are working, or should I say, when you're on your system, you're able to see them instantly and then like, okay, this is what's happening because you are working, right? At that point in time. Now, real-time close and personal updates keeps the team proactive. So now how do we get real-time close and personal updates? We're going to say all of that. So alerts notify immediately when API failures occur, of course, security threats or errors. It helps with incident response, debugging, and operational efficiency. That's what they do. Now, the question is, how do we get the one that is comfortable? All right. Now, when I say comfortable, um, I mean there are various ways, right? And for the expert or intermediate in this particular session, of course, you know about logging. If you use JavaScript, you use Logger or Winston to log your put it at every section of your code when you are building. Now, what happens when you are done building, but then you still want to know what's happening whilst you're not on your computer? So we have there's a tool called letter that we can use. Now, how do we do that? All you need to do is create your designated channel on your Slack. If you use Slack, if you use Discord, whatever you use, create that channel for yourself or for a team member or for a different department. And then you can sign up and get an API key on the website called app.usealerta.com. Then connect that alerta to your Slack channel through that dashboard. After you're done with that, you can then start receiving notifications directly from your code. Now, it's just like Sentry, if you're familiar with Sentry. So, but this time around, you can define exactly what you want to do. When I say what you want to do, that's where you want to get alerts from. So, if as a developer, I've built a system for trading, let's say to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, or to tell me whenever there is a new in the stock market, wherever there is a price fall or price up. Okay, of course you can use login for that, right? But then you would always be on your system. How do you then have this kind of personal assistant that keeps telling you things that is happening from your code before the front end, or should I say, the customers are aware? So before we go on to applying this into real world, I want to show you, before we talk about where it can be used in the real world, I just want to show you a very mini demo on this. Okay, so if you're with me, just pay close attention. All right, so I'm going to go to Slack. Now, this Slack, all right, I can have any channel created here by just going to create channel if you're familiar with this. So let's just follow suit. So we have a channel called, let's say Alerta. Okay, this is it, Alerta update. Let's say I've already created this channel and this is the channel I want to get my update. So this is just a basic channel. I'm just going to say test. Okay. So this is just a basic channel, but I want to get my updates on this channel. What do I do? So after creating the channel, all I'm going to do is go to the Alerta website, like I said, app.usealerta.com, and then I sign in. Of course, you create an account, but let's say I already have an account, so I'm just going to sign in. So from here, we need to add that channel we created. So all you need to do is just come to integration, select Slack, and then it will automatically be, I've already done it, so I don't need to do that again. So this is basically where to go to integrate it. And the next thing is going to take me to the channel. So you can see here, we already have a channel for the letter update. Perfect. The next thing you need to do is just copy your API key, right? So copy your API key from profile. I think my API key is here. So I've copied it. That's fine. There's some comments. Sure, that's not for me. Okay. So after copying the key, the next thing to do is just try it out. So let's assume that we already have a code where we want to send information to, right? And mind you, there is a documentation for this, for those of you who want to try it out. I'm just going to go right into it because I already have those two endpoints. I'm just going to go to Postman if you're familiar with this. Developers here will be familiar with it, right? In case you need it, you need to get the developer to do this for you. Oh yeah, send a message. So that's the first one. So how do we send a message? Go to the endpoint. This is the channel that we want to send it to. Let's say safe API calls. That is the message we want to send. Now, in future, if we want to reply to this message, we just have to do a reply to true. You can leave that out. We can leave it to false. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to send that message. So let's assume this is from our code. When we go back to Slack on that channel, you see here we have the message, save API calls. So these updates could be any update or any message at all. All right. Now let's assume we want to reply to that. Because I already set reply to true, I'm going to get this response here that shows me all the information I need to reply. So let's copy the thread ID. You can also copy the channel ID and the ref, and that will basically be used on the reply endpoint here. So let me paste in the thread ID. I already put in the channel and the channel ref ID and the channel ID in the past. So let's just say, great, this is a reply. Okay, now when we do that, okay, it says the thread ID is not correct. So let's go and copy it. Thread ID. Let's copy it again. Apply thread ID. Okay. Let's now send again. All right, says apply sent successfully. Now let's go back to our Slack. Now you see that we now have a reply. Now you know what this means. It means if you have 2,000 people in this channel, or should I say 100 people or 5 people, whoever is supposed to be there, the CEO, your product managers, they're basically going to get the updates. All right. Now this is what it's doing. Let's come back to our slide. This is what it's doing. So it's basically notifying us of anything we want. So currently it says API failures, security threats, errors that occur. It could be a success message. It could be anything that basically helps you to know that, okay, a particular event has happened in your code. So in the case where a hacker has gotten into your system and then they are sending money out of your system, there's a particular function that does that. Now, you won't be caught unaware because normally maybe you would have to go and check your logs to see, or you'd have to go to emails to go and see the alert. Now, that won't be what you have to do. All you need to do is just see the message directly come to your phone. If you're on Slack on your mobile phone, you're going to see the notification immediately, and that basically helps you to act. If you're not on your system, your colleague developer can help you act, and that's how proactive and efficient you can be as a developer with this tool. All right. So of course, yes, DevOps guys can use it. Security teams, business operations, um, can use it. Now, whatever business, basically. And you can use it to set acceptance criteria. If you're a product manager here, you can basically define clear conditions for your API functionality. Whenever that condition is met in the code, you get an alert. Also, changing endpoints or handling updates without breaking dependencies. So whatever there's another update, you get notified immediately and go to fix it. All right. So imagine a basic scenario where a customer faces an error on their mobile phone in one country where they're using your app. Now, before they come to customer support, you, the developer, you're already aware that, oh, something is breaking on my code. I need to fix it. So by the time the customer support person comes to you, you'll be like, fixed. It's already done. That's how proactive you can be as a developer. Like 10x, 100x your productivity. All right. So at the end of the day, we have looked at the tips on how to build secure and responsible APIs, right? So don't be the developer no one wants to work with. Everyone does not have to like you anyway, but just stand on business and save the company, all right? Save the company, basically. Always secure your APIs using best practice and implement real-time alerts to stay ahead of issues. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can send an email to vincent@bitnob.com or just check me on LinkedIn and send me a message. I'll respond. Thank you.